This is Capital Games. I am the Wiz. Yep, if you didn't catch the weekly dividend this past week, Zero is no longer on the game side of Capital Games. It will be just me for the time being. If you want to hear more from Zero, he's on the movie podcast with me every week. So if you want to go ahead and check out the movie podcast at Capital Games Movie Club on YouTube, you can check him out there if you want more Zero in your life. Other than that, it's me. It's gonna be all me from now on. So today I'm gonna talk about a game series that it has gotten a little more relevant the last week, and that is the Castlevania series. Castlevania has been long dormant. The last new game that came out from the Castlevania series, I think, was 2013, and that was Castlevania Lords of Shadow 2. Now, there have been re-releases from the Castlevania series, such as the Rondo of Blood, Symphony of the Night remasters, or was it just a re-release? That was on the PS4. And then you have the Advanced Collection and the Anniversary Collection that was released on all systems about, I think, a few years ago. Other than that, except for maybe a mobile title, Castlevania has been pretty dormant at this point. Now, with the recent release of Dead Cell's Return to Castlevania, apparently there is some chatter as to fans wanting another Castlevania. And I wanted to discuss a little bit about what Konami could do, or maybe should do, or even if this is a good idea to get to at all when it comes to going back to Castlevania at this point. So let's delve right into it. I'm looking at the article from VGC, and according to VGC, through an interview with IGN, assistant producer Tatsumi Taniguchi said that the buzz was really motivating for Konami to continue doing Castlevania. To mark the release of the new expansion for Dead Cells, his quote was, "We tried to bring back the games that people loved and cherished with the Castlevania Anniversary Collection and the Castlevania Advanced Collection, of course. We also brought back Rondo of Blood and Symphony of the Night." Yes, we already talked about that. "And launched Grimoire of Souls on Apple Arcade to celebrate the lore of the franchise. But we know that fans always want more, and we do too, so this opportunity to have this amazing crossover with Dead Cells was impossible to pass up on." That could be definitely true, that they felt that this was an opportunity to get Castlevania some good buzz and just as good feeling around it by marrying it with a game that was highly acclaimed from about a few years ago with its own kind of add-on, which was a smart move, I think, in this case. Here's the thing that I have a question on, okay? Is there a big fan base that really wants more Castlevania? Here's why I'm asking, okay? I know that the collection sold pretty well. So again, those are the old games that were made by Igarashi, and I forget who did the original Castlevania games. But these were already time-tested games, and all they had to do was make sure the emulation was right on those things, which they were. Not saying that's easy, but they were able to do that. But the question is, does anybody really trust Konami to do more Castlevanias at this point? If we look at other series, okay? Let's look at Metal Gear. I mean, Hideo Kojima is not going anywhere near Konami anytime soon, and for good reason, of course. If they were to go to Metal Gear, would they be able to trust Konami on this? I don't think so. Look at Silent Hill. They announced a bunch of new Silent Hill games, including Silent Hill 2 Remake. I'm not hearing a lot of people who are particularly buzzed by Silent Hill 2. And Konami doesn't have a lot of developers anymore since they went the mobile route, except for maybe staying with Winning 11, or I think it's called eFootball now. Except for doing their football games that they've been doing. So unless they unmothball those development houses and start bringing more up, that you're looking at other companies coming in, either like other like AA, single A, or other indie-based developers that they would hire in order to make those games. Which okay, I mean, that could work, but here's the thing. I think at this point, unless you completely reinvent Castlevania, I think Castlevania's time is over. We've had a lot of Metroidvania games that came out that are highly popular. I mean, right off the bat, let's talk about Hollow Knight, okay? Hollow Knight is beloved. Hollow Knight is a game that a lot of people seem to really like and really want more of. In fact, the clamoring for the sequel, Silk Song, is as fervent. It is, a lot of people are looking forward to it. Would it be able to defeat something like Hollow Knight? I don't know. Axiom Verge. Axiom Verge is another game that is a Metroidvania that I would say to a certain extent probably does it better now than I think Konami could do at this point. Now, unless they decide to hire these companies to do a Castlevania, that might be something they could do, but then on top of that, if I were that company, would I want to at this point? I don't know if I would want to do that. Now, you could also say, well, Wiz, they can go the 3D route. What about Lords of Shadow? Here's the thing. The first Lords of Shadow sold, I believe it was like 1.7 million copies for the Xbox 360 and PS3, which, not bad. Not bad. But not great, but not bad. The last one, according to VG Charts, okay? According to VG Charts, barely made 200,000 sales. So let's say it's like, let's really make it more judicious. So let's say it's 500,000. Let's say it's 500,000. That's not good. So I don't think people are clamoring for 3D Castlevanias. I don't think anybody ever was clamoring for 3D Castlevanias at this point. You're left with a few options here. You can either go the Metroidvania route again and hire somebody to do those. Maybe bridge back the gap to Igarashi while he's doing Bloodstained. But if I were Igarashi, I wouldn't do it. I would continue doing Bloodstained. Or you would hire, I don't know, you would have to hire another company that can do these Metroidvania games. Maybe Drinkbox might do it. I don't know at this point. I don't really know what you could do on this with the Metroidvania or with the Castlevania games at this point. Because there are two types of Castlevania games, basically. There are the old NES ones that are basically platformers with combat, or there are the Metroidvania ones that start with Symphony of the Night. And both types of Castlevania games are pretty well represented, including ones from the Bloodstained series, with Bloodstained Ritual of the Night and Bloodstained Curse of the Moon 1 and 2. Those are pretty well represented at this point. So where exactly would you go to make a Metroidvania? Are you going to get the sales that you're going to expect to come back with such a property that is so beloved? I don't think you're going to do that. This has been mothballed for a long time that I think most gamers at this point have forgotten about it. Or maybe you could go the roguelite route, like Dead Cells. But then again, you just did an expansion with Dead Cells with Castlevania in it. That could be a different way of doing it. You have to do it differently, but not so different that it alienates people who like Castlevania. So I'm not really sure what they could do with Castlevania. I think time and other games have passed the Castlevania series by, and if they do decide to do this, which it wouldn't be surprised if they did, I don't think it's going to be that great of an opportunity for them. I don't think they're going to get monster sales. This would be the situation that they're going to be in at this point. They would have to reprove themselves in the marketplace that they are worth the time to try those games. Because a lot of people, a lot of gamers have a lot of options now. I mean, if you want something different with a digging mechanic, the SteamWorld Dig games are there. If you want a straight-up Metroidvania with melee combat, Guacamelee. If you want one with guns, Axiom Verge or The Mummy Demastered. What else do we have here? Okay, if you want something that is more old school, La Mulana's there. There are so many options now in this. And the thing I was saying, which is roguelites, we have the Rogue Legacy series, and we have Dead Cells. What could they do at this point to differentiate themselves from the market? And the other thing too is Konami really gonna give somebody the time to do this? Or are they going to expect to have these types, this game done in a certain amount of time, no matter what the quality is, and have it released so they can have their brand out there again? That's another thing about Konami that isn't great. They're not really the most patient company. They expect it at a certain time, it has to meet that deadline, and it has to meet for the shareholders' expectations. And on top of that, Konami's business focus isn't games anymore. I know they really took a bath during the pandemic with their health clubs. I don't think it's still their main operation when it comes to business. At this point, I'm not sure where they're going to go with Castlevania. Maybe they have to completely reinvent it. Could be a possibility, and that could be interesting. Who do you rely on to do that? And do these people really want to work with Konami, a company that doesn't have a great track record with developers? So it'll be interesting to see what happens. I'm going to say be cautious on this. It would be nice. I'm a fan of Castlevania, so I would like to see that myself. I personally don't see this happening. Or if it does happen, don't think it's going to be a good thing. I think what's going to happen is they're going to release something. It'll be pretty forgettable, and then we'll hear stories about how Konami is very hard to work with and stuff like that, and it just won't work out the way that people will want to. Anyway, what do you guys think? What do you think would make a good Castlevania for this type of day now? Should Castlevania be remade? Should Castlevania come back? What do you think? Let me know in the comments and on social media at Capital Games Pod on Twitter. And that's it. I am The Wiz. This is Capital Games. Talk to you next time. Bye.